She appeared on GMA with a panel of other Girl Scouts, again, talking about Girl Scout season, Girl Scout cookie season. Olivia, of course, we're very proud of you. And this is actually Girl Scouts Week. Girl Scouts, the organization will turn 110 years old on Saturday. So, Olivia, thank you for representing Alabama and Girl Scouts, and we're proud of you, so keep it up. Keep up the good work.
I just want to say thank you to my junior to Ms. Duncan, Dr. Turney, and my family members, and my junior leader, Ms. Tammy.
And Olivia, I meant to ask you, you were going to tell us how many Girl Scout cookies you have sold this cookie season. Or your troop, you're going to tell us how many your troop has sold, right? Y'all been busy.
We sold 685 boxes of cookies last Saturday.
I think that was where. Oh, that's not Girl Scout cookies. I'm not the only one. I'm not like boxes. And you have a surprise. Not this the best part. You have something for the board tickets. For you guys. Oh, I buried the lead there. And tell us what you have. Tell them which cookies these are. Okay. You were talking about it in on CBS, GMA. We'll have to pass those out. Nice. Well, enjoy them. Thanks, Olivia. Olivia's taking orders. Good for her. Yeah. Good job. Thank you, Olivia. Now to Trace Crossing Elementary Schools, Miss Terry Coleman. She was selected as the 2022 School Counselor of the Year for the state of Alabama by the American School Counselor Association, and she was recognized at the 2022 School Counselor of the Year Gala in Washington, D.C. Mr. Collins, please come up to acknowledge your counselor.
Dr. Fowler and school board members, thank you all so much for allowing us the opportunity to recognize Ms. Terry Coleman. We are extremely proud of her and her work at Trace Crossing Elementary School. All of the recognitions, I feel like we've done this maybe about 4 or 5 times that she's received. She deserves them. She has been stellar at her work with helping teachers, helping students, and helping families in our school community. And we just are thankful to have the opportunity to recognize her publicly and acknowledge the great things that she does day in and day out for our students. So congratulations, and we're very proud of you. Thank you, school board.
Miss Janet Orr, it is your turn. Please come forward to talk about 4 Hoover High School seniors who were selected as finalists in the 2022 Alabama Science Scholar Search and the Gorgas Scholarship Program.
It is always so exciting to share news of good science and good with you students. And some of you have seen some of our journeys over the years, national competitions. And Samir is one of 4. You can see the students up there. One I know has a golf tournament, one had to go pick up a parent, so we'll see if they come in. But they're all very busy, and they were 4 out of the 12 Gorgas Science Senior Competition Science winners and finalists. They will be competing in a couple of weeks at Athens, and for everything from full tuition scholarship potentially to Auburn to finalist scholarships all over the state and also to other places. If they get, so they're money scholarships and then they're multiplier scholarships if they stay in state. this is a really prestigious competition, and I'm so honored that they would follow this journey and listen to me when I said, you really just fill out the pieces of paper, we'll make it happen, let's do this. And I'm calling people going, is it too late? Can we get them in? And then we get all the emails and they have to do all the connections and all stuff, but is it worth it? Yeah. They'll be presenting in front of panels of judges, and it's quite an honor. We've had one student win the whole shebang before in several places. So this doesn't happen every year. I mean, the competition happens every year, but not all applicants get recognized. They also will be competing, and that's a state level. The Gorgas is a state level competition. I think I see one more person back here. There we go. And then, but then they also will be competing in the Alabama Junior Academy of Sciences competition, and that has potential to go on to national recognition. And they will be published as high school seniors. They will be published, and we have 2 other students who are 10th grade and juniors who will be in that prestigious competition also. So we're teaching them how to ask questions, gather data, come to conclusions, and make the connections, and write about it, present about it, and go Bucks.
Okay, now time to recognize some of Hoover City Schools show choirs. Hoover City Schools had several show choirs to participate in the Capital City Classic at the Montgomery Performing Arts Center in January. First up is Spain Park High School's Varsity in Blue show choir, which took first place in the Tier 2 mixed division. Jim Schaefer, please come up to recognize your students.
Thank you. And I have some of our senior members here with us today. If they would please stand. Grant Holler, Kennedy Holloway, Jalen Newton, Anya Durrani, Austin Orr, Aaron Wilson. These students are 2-, 3-, and 4-year members and Sawyer Smith. 2-, 3-, and 4-year members of Rhapsody in Blue. They're part of the most decorated senior class in Spain Park Show Choir history. I'm very proud of them, especially because I think you'd be hard pressed to find a club, organization, or activity in our schools that suffered greater than choral singing. Wearing masks each day, 1/3 of their friends at home learning virtually, splitting the other 2/3 in half for the first 9 weeks, separated 6 feet apart. Last year we had 3 grand championships and we performed for audiences of 0. So I'm really proud of these students, the other singers in all of our choral departments, the other directors throughout the Hoover City Schools, because it takes a lot to go through what we've been through recently and to persevere, and because they have a really strong bond. I know it's that way with some of the other upperclassmen of the other choral departments, but to persevere and to accomplish what they have done this year and in their 4 years, I'm very proud of them. So please join me in congratulating them and the other members of the
Next up, Berry Middle School's Code Blue won 4th place in the Tier 1 Middle School Mixed Division. Jordan Banks, please come up to recognize your students.
Good evening, everyone. Code Blue at Berry Middle School has had some ups and downs over the last 5 years. But since I have been at Berry Middle School, these students have risen to the challenge. This group has worked hard. They have practiced long hours. We've done weekends, nights, you name it, for this group to succeed. Some of these kids I've had since 6th grade, some since 7th grade, but this group has really risen to the occasion. And we went from bringing home participation to placing in the last 3 years. And for this group, it doesn't mean anything back to me. It's all on them. They work so hard. They practice hard and they love what they do. And this season we've placed a few times. We've gotten some really good reviews, good scores, and great things to build on. And this was a really hard show that we had this year. And everybody really seemed to love it. And they put it together way better than I even imagined it in my mind. So this group, these kids deserve everything. I have some of my 8th graders here. If y'all want to stand and be recognized, I have Emily, Savannah, Liam, Lori, Braden, Hannah, Lily, Caroline, Sarah, Kate, Alex, and Marley with me tonight. These are all of my 8th graders. I think we're only missing one. So if you guys give them a round of applause because they're amazing.
Everybody part of our recognitions. In the hallway afterwards, so I can get your photo. We have about 3 recognitions left. Dan Cater, you're up next. Simmons Middle School's Synergy. The Synergy Shield Fighter won first place in the Tier 2 Middle School Mixed Division.
Thanks a lot. This is my son, Thatch. He goes to Gwen. He's in the pre-K program there. If you are a member of Synergy, if you would stand, let's clap our hands in their direction. We are just grateful to get to do music in a school system that values the arts. And so thank you to the board, Dr. Fowler. It's been difficult, like Mr. Chafer said. We began last year rehearsing in a parking lot. And to be able to perform even on a stage this year was quite an accomplishment. So we're proud not only of our kids, but of all of our students in the performing arts in Hoover City Schools. Thanks.
And I do want to mention that Hoover High School's Paradigm and Bumpus Middle School's Cadence also placed in the competition, but they couldn't make it tonight, so we'll be inviting them to come to the future meeting to be recognized. Okay, next up is the Spain Park High School's Varsity cheerleading team. They have made school history. They competed in the National High School Cheerleading Competition or Championship in Orlando, Florida, and finished with the highest ranking in Spain Park history, 7th in the nation in the traditional routine, and 6th in the nation in the game day routine. Ms. Ashley Halla, please come forward with your girls.
Thank you. I want to thank Dr. Fowler and the Hoover City Board for supporting us on this. It was kind of if we were going to get to go. Also want to thank Dr. Dodson for getting us through the field trip forms and everything we needed to do to get down there. And I really want to thank our very supportive administration, Mr. Gene Grosso, and our athletic director, Patrick Kellogg, for supporting Spain Park Cheer. Also want to thank, if these people would please stand, my assistant coaches, Morgan Lambert and Abigail Hawkins, for going on this journey with us. And most importantly, I would like the 24 young ladies to stand. I'm not going to name y'all, we'll be here all day. The 24 that did get 6th in the nation, 7th in the nation, 2 different divisions, 40 teams from over the country in one and 60 in the other. It is the best that Spain Park's ever done in this competition. It's very hard to place in 2 divisions, and they did it. And I'm going to let my senior captains speak, Olivia Stevens and Kayla Scott.
Hello, my name is Kayla Scott. I just want to thank Hoover City Schools for recognizing us, as well as Spain Park's athletic department and administrators for supporting us this whole year. These girls have worked so hard, and I could not be prouder of them. I can honestly say that this is the most talented and determined team that I've ever been a part of, and I'm just honored to tell you all that this team made history when we placed the highest Spain Park cheer ever has, with 7th in the nation in our traditional routine and 6th in the nation with our game day routine. So thank you all for the positive comments and support, and for recognizing how hard this group of girls has worked. Go Ducks!
And finally tonight, the Hoover High School earned two state championship trophies at the AHSAA Class 7A indoor track competition at the Birmingham Crossplex. The boys and girls track and field teams both took first place. Did Coach Smith make it? Yes. Yes. Come on up, Coach Smith. This is Coach Smith's first 2 state titles since joining Hoover High School this summer, which is awesome. Y'all come on up.
Thank you, Dr. Fowler. Thank you, the school board. I just want to say before the indoor season, I promised you I had a black beard. The stress and all that, and following the footsteps of Coach Devin Hine too. I've been very blessed and fortunate to have the opportunity to come here to Hoover and to coach these wonderful kids. I'll just go in order. Elijah Joseph right here was the runner-up in the 800. I'm sorry, the mile, and he won the 4x8. Sam Kilgore won the 4x8 and was second in the 4x4. Charlie Morris was 10th in the 2 mile and was 10th in the 2 mile. Yes. He was going to be on our 4x8. Zach King here was 5th in the 400 and was also second in the 4x4. DJ Black was runner-up, second place in the 60. RJ Tober was 8th in the hurdles. Bree Watson was 15th in the shot put. Colin Pace, I think it's Colin Pace, can't see over there. Colin was he was actually our pole vault state champion, right there. Mackenzie Blackledge, right here. Mackenzie was she was 5th in the 400, 2nd in the 800, 1st in the 4x2. No, sorry, 1st in the 4x4 and 1st in the 4x8. Jay Avery was 1st in the long jump, 1st in the triple jump, and 2nd in the high jump. We'll get that first next time. Oh, Jordan Willie over there, he was 4th or 5th in the high jump. Molly Ellington over there, she finished 3rd in the hurdles. So proud of her. Taylor Canada, TC was 3rd in the 60, 1st in the 4x2, and 1st in the 4x4. And then we have Bree Chapman. Bree was 1st in the 60, 1st in the 4x2, 1st in the 4x4. I should have put in the 2 mile. But thank you, guys.
Thank y'all very much. This is why we're coming to a bigger spot lately. We have so many great recognitions of the students. All right, we will continue. It is now time to move on to our consent agenda. Dr. Fowler.
Thank you, Ms. Tosley. Excuse me. Thank you, board. Before you are the items on the consent agenda. The consent agenda is comprised of 5 different items. The first item is a set of minutes, which was a regular meeting that was conducted on February the 8th, 2022. Second item is a bid for a dedicated internet access and wide area network for the district. The third is a bid for recapping bus tires. Fourth is a bid for school bus AC retrofit kits. Retrofit kits are an opportunity for us to place air conditioning in 31 buses. You may remember, board, that we've already ordered 20 new buses that will have air conditioning. And we expect those to come in hopefully by the end of this school year. I was talking with Mr. Bradford earlier today, and those go on the production line in April. And with this retrofit kits, that will mean that 40% of our buses will be air conditioned for next year. And the last item is your permission to delete obsolete items from our CMP program. I do recommend approval of the consent agenda.
Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Any questions or anything? Okay. Dr. Fowler?
Thank you, Ms. Tosley. Thank you, board. The next items for your consideration are personnel items, and I will present the personnel items in 3 sections. The first section is I would ask your approval of the personnel action items that are listed before you. Ms. Williams is also here. I see Dr. Payne is also here. We're ready to answer any questions that you might have regarding personnel, but I do recommend approval of the personnel report.
Do I have a motion to approve the personnel report as recommended by Dr. Fowler? Second?
Second.
Any questions from the board? I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Personnel report is approved.
Thank you, Ms. Tosley. Thank you, board. The next item under personnel is I am seeking your approval of an employment decision for a tenured teacher, and I do recommend approval of that decision.
Do I have a motion to approve the notice of employment decision for a tenured teacher as recommended by the superintendent? Correct. Thank you, Mr. Kendrick. Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The notice of employment decision for a tenured teacher is approved.
Thank you, Ms. Tosley. Thank you, board. The last item under the personnel action items is I would like your consideration and approval of a notice of employment decision for a non-probationary classified employee.
Great, and I understand Ms. Madonna will abstain on this one. Do I hear a motion to approve the notice of employment decision for a non-probationary classified employee as recommended by Dr. Fowler?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The notice of employment decision for a non-probationary classified employee is approved.
Thank you, Ms. Tosley. Thank you, board. The next items for your consideration. At this time, I'd like to call Mrs. Michelle McKay, our CSFO, to present business action items.
Good evening, board members. This evening, I would like to share with you that our payroll for February 2021 was $8,891,956.27. Cash disbursements for January 2022, $2,860,312.44. And I do think that payroll February 2021 should be 22. That's February 2022. And then included in your packet is the summary and general purpose financial statements for the month ended January 31, 2022. At this time, 49% of revenue has been received for the month ended January 31, 2021. I mentioned last month, January will see fluctuations in current year versus prior year revenues due to the timing of cash receipts around the holidays. Historically, Hoover City Schools has received the majority of the revenue generated from these taxes October through March, with a notable drop in collections in the remainder of the year. The results of operations represent 4 months of activity. Accordingly, we would anticipate having spent approximately 33% of the budget for recurring expenditures. At this time, general fund expenditures are 31% of that budget. For the 4 months of activity, the current month's reserve is 10.3 months. Special revenue fund expenditures for 4 months of activity were $9 million for 30% of the budget.
Thank you, Ms. McKay. Board, at this time, I would like to recommend approval of the business actions that have just been described to you by Ms. McKay.
Do I have a motion to approve the business actions as recommended by the superintendent? Second? Second. Any questions from the board? I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Business actions are approved.
Thank you, Ms. Tosney. Thank you, board. Thank you, Ms. McKay. At this time, board, we have just a few more items, and these are operational items. And we're very fortunate that Mr. Matt Wilson is with us tonight to answer any questions that you might have. Also, Mr. Wes Wilbanks is also with us to answer questions. The first item for your consideration is I would like to recommend, that's easy for me to say. I would like to recommend engineering service contract with MBA engineers for Spain Park baseball and tennis drainage.
Do I have a motion to approve the proposal to provide engineering services for the Spain Park baseball and tennis drainage improvement project as recommended by the superintendent?
So moved.
Second? Second. Any questions from the board? I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Proposal is approved.
Thank you, Ms. Tyson. Thank you, board. The next item for your consideration, I would like to recommend approval of a contract with Stephen Ward for architectural services for the Simmons Middle School roof.
Do I have a motion to approve the contract for architectural services for the Simmons Middle School roof as recommended by the superintendent? Second? Second. Any questions from the board? Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Contract is approved.
Thank you, Ms. Tyson. Thank you, board. The next item is a rejection of a bid. As you know, we start making plans far in advance. We start making budgets far in advance, but the current economic environment is not always conducive of those plans that we have made. At this time, I'm very sad to say, I would like to recommend the rejection of a bid for restroom renovation at Rocky Ridge, Green Valley, Wayne, Bluff Park, and Simmons Middle School. The reason for this rejection is it's over budget, and for 4 of the 5, there was only one bidder. If the board does approve the rejection of this bid, then I would like to ask Mr. Wilson to start negotiating with contractors, because under the law, we're free to do that once this bid has been rejected. I do recommend rejection of the bid.
Do I have a motion to reject the restroom renovation bids for Rocky Ridge, Green Valley, Lynn, Bluff Park, and Simmons as recommended by the superintendent? Do I have a second? Any questions? Motion and second. All in favor? Any opposed? The restroom renovation bids for these schools are rejected.
All the restroom news is not bad news, Ms. Cosby. I would like to recommend approval of a bid for restroom renovation at Shades Mountain Elementary. Battle Miller Construction will be the contractor.
Do I have a motion to approve the bid for restroom renovations at Shades Mountain Elementary as recommended by the superintendent? Second. Any questions? I have a motion and second. All in favor? Any opposed? The recommendation to approve the bid for restroom renovations at Shades Mountain Elementary is approved.
Thank you, Ms. Tyson. Thank you, board. The next 2 items are roofing items. At this time, I would like to recommend to the board to accept the bid for a roof replacement and repair at Greystone Elementary, and to be conducted by Standard Roofing out of Montgomery. It was the lowest responsibility.
Okay. Do Do I have a motion to approve the bid for roof replacement and repairs at Greystone Elementary as recommended by the superintendent? Second? Any questions? Have a motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? The recommendation to approve the bid for roof replacement and repairs at Greystone Elementary is approved.
Thank you, Ms. Tyson. Thank you, board. The last roof replacement recommendation, I do recommend approval of the bid for the roof replacement and repairs at South Shadescrest Elementary.
Do I have a motion to approve the bid for roof replacement and repairs at South Shadescrest Elementary as recommended by the superintendent? Do I have a second? Second. Any questions? I have a motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? The bid for roof replacement and repairs at South Shadescrest Elementary is approved.
Thank you, Ms. Tyson. Thank you, board. And the last action item for this evening. As you know, board, at our last board meeting, you were presented with board policies. And these board policies, yearly, we look at our board policies to see if there needs to be changes, corrections, additions, deletions. And these board policies are vetted by the Alabama Association of School Boards, also through our very apt attorneys, Colvin, Johnson, Bishop, and Kent. And I do recommend the policies that were up for first reading last month be approved at this time.
Do I have a motion to approve the policy pipeline revisions as recommended by the superintendent? Second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
The pipeline is, we subscribe to ASB, it comes through their attorneys. So we've seen this, it's actually been given to us either in person or recorded. So even though we're in motion second, get ready to vote here, we have to be in compliance with state law. This is aligning with state law. We can alter our policy, we must alter our policy to align with state law, which is what we're doing. We can also have a policy that's in addition to the state, which with our apt attorneys here, we always try to have less regulations are better if possible. So that's what we're trying to follow as per legal advice.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? The policy pipeline revisions are approved.
Thank you, Ms. Tyson, and thank you, board, for approval of the consent agenda and the action items. At this time, as we move into the superintendent's report, before I call Dr. Robbins to come forward and present the mid-year data presentation, I would like to thank Dr. Turney, Ms. Durkin for the hospitality of allowing us to come to River Chase Elementary. You have a beautiful school here. I'm always very pleased to come here. And for those of you that don't know, they've got a beautiful little rabbit. And if you're really good, you can feed the rabbit while you're at River Chase. So we're seeing who's being good. Dr. Swate, not so much. At this time, I would like to call Dr. Chris Robbins, our Chief Learning Officer, to come forward to present mid-year data.
Well, I don't have Girl Scout cookies, and I certainly can't call out the Hoover track team by name with a pin. Wasn't that amazing? But I do have some amazing results to our mid-year academic progress, and it's a please and thank you so much, Dr. Fowler, board, for the opportunity to share some of our mid-year data with you. I would like to start though with just some review of some terms that we're going to be discussing. First of all, when we talk about benchmark assessments, what we are talking about are non-graded brief reading and math assessments that our students take K through 10 3 times a year. They take them in the fall, in the winter, and the spring. Our K-8 students use a product called iReady, and our 9th and 10th grade students use a product called Scantron. The purpose of these assessments is to gauge how our students are progressing academically in reading and math throughout the year. So it's similar to a teacher giving a quiz along the way before they get to the big test. We want to know what the strengths and the areas of improvement are for our students before we get to the larger assessment, which is the ACAS. And so our students all participated K-8 in these shorter check-in assessments. Also, I'd like to talk just a little bit about the national percentile ranking. When we talk about NPR, or National Percentile Ranking, this compares a student's performance against students that took the same assessment of the same age, the same time of year. And so it's comparing students across the nation who took the same assessment. Our goal is always to look for our students to perform better than the nation's students. And so that means that we want to maximize the number of students who are above the 50th percentile. When we talk about our students being on grade level, achievement-wise, this refers to students, and it can mean different things, depending on if it's talking, if we're gauging iReady on grade level, or Scantron grade level, or ACAP grade level. For our purposes here in Hoover, we define on grade level as being at the 50th percentile or higher. And so our goal is always to get as many students as possible above the 50th percentile. So if they are above the 50th percentile, that means that they're on grade level according to this measure. Also, we try to define students who are in need of intervention. So likewise, we use the 25th percentile as our gauge to determine and try to identify students who are in need of more intensive instructional opportunities. So it's critical that we know if a student falls into these categories on these benchmarks so that we can provide some adjusted instructional opportunities for our students along the way. And then finally, growth. Each student is assigned a growth target based on how they perform in their fall benchmarking. And so after the student takes the fall benchmark, they're assigned a growth target for the entire school year. So at this point in the school year, we would want our students to be halfway through their benchmark or their growth target since we're halfway through the school year. So if we say that a student is on track for growth, that means that they've met half of their annual growth target. So just to review quickly about some local goals that we've set, you can notice on this screen as well as the notes in front of you, we have 3 goals that relate to the 3 areas that I just described. First of all, our goal is to have at least 75% of our students above the 50th percentile. That would be our students on grade level. Our second goal is for us to have no more than 10% of our students who are in the bottom quartile, or from 25% below, according to national percentile rankings. And then finally, we want at least 80% of our students to meet their year-long growth targets, with 0% difference in growth between African American students and white students. As you can see, our goal is growth for all students. One new measure that we're looking at is the growth gap. This is a measure of how quickly our African American students are growing versus our white students. We want there to be 0 gap between that growth because we want all of our students growing at a high level. We also have some very specific end-of-year goals and data that we collect. These are not benchmarked throughout the year, but we do look at these 4 areas. We look at 4-year cohort graduation rates. We look at graduates who are in college and career readiness. We look at graduates offered scholarships, and we look at our average ACT composite scores. You can see these goals are listed here as well as in your notes. We will collect data on those at the end of each school year. So how do we do? Let's start with looking at the percentage of students above the 50th percentile. Again, our goal here is 75% by the end of the school year. As you can see, we are approaching that goal with 66% of our students in the mid-year winter falling above the 50th percentile. With this cohort of students, this shows a growth of 2% in English language arts and a growth of 3% in math. You'll also notice that we have nearly reached or exceeded our pre-COVID achievement levels according to this mid-year measure. So in English language arts, we've exceeded our pre-COVID achievements in English. And in math, we have nearly reached our pre-COVID achievement levels according to this mid-year measure. What we just saw was our district-wide data. What you see here is our school-specific data. Each of our schools has the opportunity and does take the opportunity to use their school-specific data to drill down into grade levels and into classroom data in order to find and discover areas in which they can improve. But this information is in your notes as well as on the screen. Next, you can see the percentage of students who fall in the needs intervention category, or 25th percentile or lower. Again, our goal is for not like the achievement data. We want those numbers to be big. We want these numbers to be small. So you can see, we also want to see negative growth. So we want to see negative numbers in this growth. We want to shrink this bottom quartile. And so you can see our mid-year winter is 15%. And we have already shrunk that bottom quartile in English language arts by 1%, and then math by 3%. And in a similar way, we have already reached pre-COVID levels in terms of our students who need intervention in English language arts, and we're approaching that level in math. And likewise, you can see the school-specific information. What you just saw was district-wide data. And again, each school takes this data and then drills down into grade levels and classrooms as well. So the final measure is growth. We're going to look at the percentage of our students who are on track for meeting their year-end growth measures. And you can see this is comparing mid-year to mid-year to mid-year, so 3 years worth of mid-year data. And this is the percentage of students who are on track to meet their annual growth. And you can see this most current measure, we have mid-year right here, 63%, which is a change of 8% from the previous school year, and a change of 4% from the pre-COVID school year. So our largest growth gains have been in math. As you can see, we're up 12% from 1 year ago, and 4% from pre-COVID. One other measure that I mentioned is the growth gap. Our goal would be for this measure to be 0. We would like there to be no gap between both groups in terms of their growth. What we see is that there's a larger growth gap in English language arts than there is math. This is a measure that we're going to continue to look at throughout the mid-year, benchmarking as well as ACAP, so we can gather more data on that. We can see how that growth gap might be changing. And again, that was district-wide data. This is school-specific data that you see on the screen and also in your notes. Note that some of the highest academic growths occurred at some of our title schools. Our targeted interventions, our efforts in those areas are showing extraordinary results. So what can we learn from these results? Well, first of all, we do see that our efforts this year are paying off with positive results. Our kids are making progress. According to this mid-year measure, our achievements have already exceeded our pre-COVID levels in English language arts and nearly exceeded our pre-COVID levels in math. We also see that we've selected appropriate goals, appropriate strategies, and that we're on the right track, and we should be well positioned going into this spring when the ACAP rolls around. Our teachers, our principals, our school leaders should be very proud of the progress that we've made this school year. We're halfway there. We'll continue to provide high-quality instruction for all students in Hoover City schools. So next steps, last step, what's coming next? Well, we do have to remember that this is a midway check-in. This is just a temperature check going into the spring. So it's going to be very important that we finish strong, that we don't take our foot off the gas. We need to continue with the interventions that have worked so well. ACAP is just around the corner. It's coming April. And the purpose of this mid-year is not only to encourage us but also so that we can see are there ways that we need to be adjusting or using different interventions than we're currently using in order for our students to continue to show progress. We also know that the mid-year data is useful in highlighting specific students. There might be students who, through this mid-year measure, are showing that they're in need of more intensive interventions. And so this gives our schools and our teachers the opportunity to respond to those needs. And then lastly, what this data will do is it's going to inform our professional development into the spring, into the summer, and in fall, and then also help us as we're creating our academic goals for the 2022-23 school year. Thank you so much for your time and attention. At this time, I'm happy to entertain any questions that the board may have.
Very good.
If I can just take a moment of liberty and ask if we have any teachers or principals, assistant principals here at the board meeting, if you please stand so we can give you a round of applause and some thanks for the hard work you've been doing.
Thank you, Dr. Robbins. If you would stay on the stage for just a second. At this time, I'd like to call our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Ron Dodson, to come forward. We have some notable recognitions that occurred during our personnel actions, and I'd like for Dr. Dodson to do that. But before you do, Dr. Dodson, we also have with us Dr. Wayne Richardson. Dr. Richardson, if you please stand, please. Dr. Richardson is retiring. I was fortunate enough to attend his retirement ceremony today at Deer Valley. And it was just a room full of folks that loved Dr. Richardson, that he had mentored. I see Scott's here. There are others here that have had your tutelage. And thank you very much for all the hard work, the dedication that you have given Hoover City Schools. I say this most sincerely. Wayne, you will be missed. You are an outstanding leader and mentor, and education in Hoover. He's going to really miss you, Wayne. Thank you for your service. Patience, Dr. Dodson, patience. Grasshopper.
Board, tonight you appointed Hoover's first Chief Administrative Officer. It's my pleasure to introduce him to you and the public. This person joined our school system in 2006 as a guidance counselor at Columbus Middle School, has served as an assistant principal at South Shakespeare Elementary, Berry Middle School, principal at Bluff Park Elementary, and currently is in the position of Director of Equity and Educational Initiatives for the school district. My pleasure to introduce Dr. Terry Martin.
Dr. Ron said years ago, it seems like I need to talk, right? But I would like to say thanks to the board for the vote of confidence. Thanks, Dr. Paul, for your guidance and giving us the flexibility to make decisions in these positions as well. And Dr. Dodson, for you every step of the way, each of those positions that he named, I went to him for mentorship and for counsel. And so I will forever be grateful to you as well. And looking forward to working with administrators and principals and stakeholders as well. So thank you all. I appreciate it.
Dr. Fowler Board, tonight also you appointed the new principal at Deer Valley Elementary School. I'm pleased to announce at this time that the new principal at Deer Valley Elementary School is Ms. Nicole Stokes. She brings with her 20 years of experience, 15 of which has been at Deer Valley, classroom teacher, as an instructional coach, assistant principal. I had the opportunity to work with her one summer years ago when she was doing some internship for graduate school, and I just knew that she was destined for a principalship very soon. And I'm very pleased and honored
to follow behind Terry Lamar, but then it's equally as hard to follow behind Wayne. However, I know that he has prepared me for this moment, and I'm excited to follow behind you. And as I've shared with you before, our future successes are your successes, and just answer my phone calls. Thank you so much.
And I will note that at the reception, everyone was saying, "Why's Nicole so dressed up today?" Before I leave superintendent comments, I would like to thank Brian Phillips and the technology team that worked diligently to put this show on the road. It's not easy. Microphones, monitors, streaming to the public. And Brian, thank you for what you do. Thank you very much. At this time, Ms. Tosny, that's all the reports that I have.
Great. Our next regular board meeting is April 12th at 5:30, and we are now moving to public comment. And I know we have one if you want to make your way forward. And just please provide us with your name and the topic you'll speak on. And be reminded of good name and character, which cannot be addressed, and individual student discipline. And limit your time to 3 minutes.
My name is Charles Daniel. I have twin boys at Graceville Elementary School in the self-contained classroom. I believe you all received an email from me yesterday on behalf of a million parents in Graceville Elementary School. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to rehash those issues today. That's not what we're here for. I do want to let Dr. Stocks and Ms. Williams and Claire know, we love our teacher. That is without question. That is unanimous among all our parents, and everybody needs to know that. So just some clarification is needed on a few items pertaining to that email and the other issues there. I do want to share with you, though, my years in television. I used to work for 3340. I have some journalistic skills and research abilities. Over the last few weeks and days, I've actually reached out to numerous teachers, both gen ed and special needs, as well as parents and others involved in the education of our children. These are relationships that I've developed over many, many years of visiting schools. I've probably visited every single Hoover City school at least once in my time, and probably 300 schools across the state. And after speaking with them, I found some underlying themes that I want you to know about. Sorry, a long time since I've talked to them. Every one of these people that I have spoken to, general theme, number one, they told us your kids aren't getting what they need and they aren't getting what they deserve for our special needs kids. That's a big slap in the face, and that's coming straight from the teacher's mouth. Not just one, but 19. That's how many I've spoken to. They're banking, this is a direct quote, they're banking on the parents' ignorance to know their rights and what their kids can ask for. Second item is, we as teachers aren't getting the support we need in the classrooms. The parents that are being hired through these special services are not prepared to provide us with the support we need or the support that your children need. And they're leaving for better paying jobs as soon as they can get them. Another direct quote, the system is broken and needs an overhaul. You're experimenting with our kids, with these people coming in. Our kids are the guinea pigs. And this one should be very concerning. Every one of these people that I spoke to asked for anonymity because they were afraid to speak to me about these items. Out of fear, they're afraid because they're afraid of retaliation, disciplinary action, or even termination. These are the items that these teachers are afraid to speak out of. They are afraid to speak up and say, this isn't working. These are the items they're scared about because they're worried for their jobs. And I know these teachers are miracle workers every single day with the limited resources they have. Imagine how great they could be if we gave them what they truly need. Is that my 3-minute mark? Okay. One last sentence. As parents, we're tired of the discourage, delay, and deny responses that we get from administrators of the system of what our kids need. Just be on notice. We're communicating, we're organizing. Every child, every chance, every single day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, board, is there anything else?
I have a comment. May I speak?
Yeah.
My name is Robin Schultz. I live on Albemarle Drive in Bluff Park. I want to give you a quick history lesson in a commendation to one of your employees. Many of you know that we have a school in Bluff Park, in the Bluff Park area, that was built in 1924, Bluff Park School. That school from 1924 to 1996 was the Bluff Park Elementary School. My wife attended it, my oldest daughter was there. From 1997, that building became the Adult Community Education Center until 2010. And in 2010 through 2017, it became Artists on the Bluff. And we had a lot of things going on in Artists on the Bluff. And in 2017, it was found that it was no longer feasible to maintain that building. It became too expensive. And a decision had to be made as to what to do with it. And the decision was made to tear it down, make room for new classrooms at Bluff Park Elementary. Dr. Kathy Murphy at the time, at the request of us, the Bluff Park community, decided to spare the main building, the old school, we call it. And so for the next 3 years, decisions were made. It was torn down and began to be torn down in 2020. And last week, I got the opportunity to walk through the new building. And if you haven't been there yet, you need to go. It is phenomenal. The outside of it looks like the 1924 building when it was brand new. I was invited to look at it by Matthew Wilson, and he has done a spectacular job. Tonight I'm going to be posting a drone video, which is going to give you kind of a overview of what it was to what it wasn't to what it is again. So again, kudos to Mr. Wilson. I know a lot of people had something to do with it, but he oversaw it. So it's a spectacular, on behalf of the Bluff Park community, we're very grateful for leaving the building as it is, and we look forward to what it's going to do over the next 100 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? We are adjourned.
Thank you.